didn't enjoy that at all. Was it the altitude? Obviously,
Yes, it got to me. Well, I had a cold anyway when we started going up the Annapurna Trail, and you know, you go every 1,000 feet, you know, the air gets thinner and thinner and thinner, so you're actually more and more constricted, and you're sneezing. It was quite horrible by that time, and the wonderful Sherpas we have with us are also cheerful. And I'm going up there in my boots, and they've got bare feet up the mountain, you know, with little slippers on. And they're skipping along with all our gear on their backs. I felt so embarrassed that I was the one who was complaining, you know, they should have been. But
like an old man behind.
Old man, was, certainly.
This section of diaries is interesting because it covers Fish Called Wanda, Private Function, which is filmed in my hometown of Ilkley, which is rather exciting.
Ah, yes.
One thing that comes out of it, which is curious, is that had Hollywood really taken off, we would never have had Pole to Pole, Round the World in 8 Days, all that sort of thing. And it never struck me, I'm not suggesting that you have failed, but you were saying in there, you kind of failed at Hollywood, hence Halfway to Hollywood. And it never occurred to me that.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure that fail is quite the right word. What happened was that all these films that I made, like Time Bandits and Brazil, and A Private Function, Alan Bennett's film, Fish Called Wanda, they all did very well in America. But they were all made here. So I was being asked, oh, you know, the films have done well, come over to Hollywood, we'll write you a part here. Now, the only parts that sort of British actors of my age were getting then in Hollywood were sort of butlers, things like that, you know. And Denham Elliott and John Gielgud, they all ended up as butlers in some Hollywood mansion. And I realised that, you know, insidiously lovely though the Hollywood lifestyle might be, you know, and pools and massage parlours and off to Las Vegas every weekend and all that, it wasn't really what I wanted. I quite like being at home. And then suddenly the BBC ring up and say, would you like to go around the world in 80 days? For some strange reason. I said yes, despite not being the first one they asked, I have to say that.
Who was the first one they asked?
They asked several people, actually. Did they ask you, Alan?
No, you can't say.
Well, Alan Wicker was the first, and Miles Kinkton, a very good journalist and writer, was the second. He said no. Then they asked Noel Edmonds, he said no. Clive James, he said no.
How different your life might have been. You could have been presenting Deal or No Deal by now.
I always had Mr. Blobby aspirations at one time, but yeah, Mrs. Blobby I wanted to be.
So, the assiduousness of writing a diary, I totally admire and take my hat off to. I've never been able to be... I write every day, but not a diary. But you've been able to do this. You're clearly a disciplined man. But what drives you to carry on? What makes you say yes to something?
I think probably that I'm not that disciplined, actually. I'm quite an impulsive character. There's a sort of basis to me, which is very home-based, family and all that. But there's other bits, I want to go off, start doing this, that and the other. And I could quite easily just travel the world and have a cup of tea and coffee and a beer here and there and meet people and chat for most of my life. But I realise I can't really get away with that. So I have to discipline myself. And writing the diary is one of those things that I've done now for, well, 30 years nearly. And I couldn't imagine not doing it in the morning. It's just a record of the last day, and I write it longhand. And it's also, I mean, you write very, very well, but I mean, we all need to practice. Yeah. And actually, I find writing my diaries, it's actually a good practice in the morning, just to describe what you did the day before. It's good for your sort of writing style. And it's also, I mean, I urge anyone to keep a diary if they can, because you think at the time, how incredibly boring. Egg for breakfast, you know, so tonsils hurt, something like that. Actually, that was a very good day, that one. Yeah, my God, they hurt. But in 20 years' time, you look back, and there are little things, just special things about the family, the children growing up, that you realise are quite precious memories that would have gone completely if you hadn't written them down. Did
you learn things about your earlier self by reading them? Did you surprise yourself by what you'd written?
Yes, I surprised myself. I read these diaries, and I think, my God, I was so worried about everything I was doing, you know. I look back and I think I've had quite a lucky life. I've done all the things I wanted to do, and yet along the way, all these, you know, indecisions and could I do that, couldn't I do that? There's much more self-doubt in there, which I think is probably a very good thing, because once you think you can do everything, I think you might as well give up. But there's a lot of that, and some judgments I made, like I thought the Fish Called Wanda script was awful when John first showed it to me, and it's the most successful film I've ever done.
Shows what you know, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
I've got to ask you about Salvador Dali and Andy Warhol, then, encounters with them. I mean, these men now, because they've died, of course, they've passed into legend. How did they strike you?
Well, I didn't. I just met Andy Warhol at this party in New York, and it was like kind of... It was extraordinary, like meeting a waxwork. You wasn't sure he really existed, and it was at this. It was a nightclub called Studio 54, And we also went in, and there was this figure, it's absolutely white, with white hair, and I thought, is it really him, or is it a waxwork of Andy Warhol? So I said, hello, Andy. And no, I didn't say that. No, I just smiled a bit, and he looked vaguely out to lunch, as most of the people were in that nightclub that night.
And Dali?
But then I didn't meet Dali. I met Truman Capote.
Oh yes.
Little Truman Capote. He was very sweet, but they're all terribly preoccupied with themselves, their own little world. And it wasn't until I got inside and met Mick Jagger that I met somebody normal. Mick wearing his MCC tie, you know. Yeah, Sir Mick, because I have to call him now.
I guess then another reason to put you off going to Hollywood in the falsity of it all. You seem to have risen above that. There seems to be nothing false about Michael Palin.
Oh, well, I don't know. Nice of you to say. I think I missed a few opportunities, but I'd never, ever begrudge the chance I got to go around the world. They were the best things I've done.
So will you still continue to travel? You still like doing it, or have you done it now?
Yeah, no, I don't think I'll do... It takes 2 years to do a series, really, the whole thing, and then writing the book and selling the book and all that stuff. It takes 2 years out of your life, and I've got 2 grandsons now, and I want to watch them growing up. So I'll do shorter journeys to the post office and that. No, the post office is closed. I'll have to go... Yeah.
Do that and fall back on your diaries.
Yeah,
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Palin.
Thank you. Thank you.